We're going to go over the buy, sell, holds, and trades from Week 12 fantasy football. We're going to look at those guys who hit this week, those guys who busted, and everything else. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're going heavy on the waiver wire every day throughout the week. We're going to find you those hidden gems. On top of that, we're deep diving the trending players with the You Need series, so you can get an extra look at those players you're thinking about picking up. On top of that, we're helping you set your lineups with the must-start videos. Click that button. Stop missing out. First game we're looking at today, Cowboys Commanders. This one was a fun matchup here. The Cowboys pull it off. Cooper Rush, 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a sneaky dandy in those deeper leagues, especially 2 QB leagues. Jaden Daniels gets you 74 rushing yards and a touchdown, 275 yards, 2 picks, 2 touchdowns. Real football-wise, dicey at some moments. But the thing about this, we look at the rushing attack for the Commanders. Brian Robinson gets hurt, and now we're looking at Austin Eckler for the rest of the season, especially down the stretch. Jeremy McNichols is going to get more touches down the stretch, getting more opportunity. But catching the ball out of the backfield, it's Scary Terry. 5 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown. That big catch and run at the end of the game. Noah Brown's getting that volume, 10 targets in that matchup. And on top of that, it's starting to get steady. Noah Brown's a waiver wire wide receiver you're going to think about, and you might start him here and there. Due to him just getting 5+ targets a game, Zach Ertz got volume and a touchdown, 8 targets, 6 balls caught, 38 yards. After that, nothing else to look at on the Commanders side. CeeDee Lamb, 12 targets, caught 10 of them, 67 yards, getting that work. Luke Schoonmaker got a little bit here. Touchdown, 3 balls caught, 55 yards. Jalen Brooks, Jalen Tolbert got some work as well. And then on top of that, Rico Dowdle, 3 balls caught, 12 yards. And then on top of that, rushing it 19 times, 86 yards. Dowdle's got some pop and some wiggle. We saw that today. Zeke's cooked. We know that. Trey Lance got a little bit of work. 1 carry for -3 yards. As they try to get some work here and there. But Cooper Rush stepped it up. Cowboys win big, 34-26. Bears and Vikings. This was another fun matchup. A lot of people complained about the slate of games going into the week. However, like the UFC, when you get a card that does not look so good, those are when the bangers happen. And we got another banger here. 30-27, Vikings take it home in overtime. Caleb Williams, like we said in the must-start video, it's all on him. If he steps up, we're going to get a banger. If not, it's Vikings road dogging. Caleb Williams steps up. We also get some errors on the Vikings side, but Caleb Williams balling out. He had that one throw along the sideline, downfield, cross body, weird arm angle. Caleb Williams, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. On top of that, rushing for 33 yards, so we got a little bit of that Konami code. DJ Moore, 7 balls caught, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. We're finally hitting it back in stride. Keenan Allen got a little bit in the touchdown. Rome Odunze got some work. Everybody's getting some work in the offense. DeAndre Swift, another slow week. 6 points receiving, and then on top of that, about 3 more points rushing. So that's hurting you in fantasy football. Roschon Johnson comes in and gets the touchdown, but not enough for fantasy production. On the other side of the ball, Sam Darnold, 330 yards, 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones, over 100 yards and a touchdown. He was due to score a touchdown. He had a gap there. Jordan Addison goes off. 162 yards and a touchdown on 8 balls caught. TJ Hawkinson goes off. 7 balls caught, 114 yards. Justin Jefferson gets the slow game. Everybody started Justin Jefferson. No one benches Justin Jefferson. You'll start him next week. It is what it is. You'll get games like this. That's what happens in football. Football's going to football. But fun matchup here. Lions road dog the Colts here. Anthony Richardson, 172 yards, but rushes for 61 yards. So he gets it done for you a little bit in fantasy. Jonathan Taylor does not. Michael Pittman shows up today. 6 catches, 96 yards. Most people benched him. And I agree with that decision. He got you a little bit of something fantasy production-wise, but still you can't trust it. Josh Downs, like 5.7 PPR fantasy points. You're not trusting that. No touchdowns in the passing game. 25 targets spread out among these wide receivers. Not great when you're looking at that. But you're looking at the other side here. Jared Goff, 269 yards, no touchdowns. okay. Not league-winning fantasy production, but Jahmyr Gibbs, 2 rushing touchdowns, 90 yards. David Montgomery, another touchdown there, but only 37 yards. But you're looking at the receiving stats here. Jamison Williams, 5 balls caught, 64 yards. Amon-Ra, 662, so 12 fantasy points there. Tim Patrick got a little something. You're not looking at him off waivers, but he's starting to get some workload. David Montgomery got you 6.6 points in receiving. Sam Laporta busted on you. But all in all, Lions road dog, Colts stagnant again. Patriots, Dolphins, and the Dolphins come out big here. 317 yards and 4 touchdowns by Tua. Looking at the receiving game from that, Jalen Waddle finally goes off. 144 yards and a touchdown off 8 balls caught. Jonnu Smith has been steady Eddie, getting those targets, scoring fantasy points. A touchdown, 87 yards, 9 balls caught. Tyreek Hill was all right. Devin Achane got you 5.7 PPR fantasy points and just receiving production, plus 2 touchdowns on top of that, and then rushing for 32 yards. Getting it done for you. Looking at the other side, we got the carousel effect at the wide receiver spot for the Patriots. However, it's not a sexy carousel. Demario Douglas, 62 yards, 5 balls caught. Kendrick Bourne, 3 balls caught, 30 yards. Kayshon Boutte, 1 ball caught, 6 yards, 4 targets. So he's still getting volume, running a lot of routes. The tight ends here were the story. Austin Hooper steps in. 4 balls caught, 59 yards, and a touchdown. Hunter Henry, 9 fantasy points, so it's okay. Ramondre Stevenson got a little bit of work, but nothing done on the ground. We got bust at the running back position here. Devin Achane hits. Jalen Wright shows off a little bit, but not getting enough workload. He's going to eventually pop one. He's a huge handcuff for the back end of the season. Once we get down the stretch, the Dolphins are 5-6 right now. You really need them to lose a few more games to get out of contention so they can play around with Jalen Wright a little bit more. That's one thing we're seeing. But these wide receivers are starting to go nuts on us, which is good to see for the Dolphins. Giants and Bucks. The Bucks road dog the Giants, of course, because we got the Italian Stallion in there. 189 yards passing. Tyrone Tracy rushes for 42 yards. Tommy DeVito, the Italian Stallion, got you 32 rushing yards. Malik Neighbors coming in banged up. 9 targets, 6 balls caught, 64 yards, 12.4 PPR fantasy points. You'll take that. You'll take that with a backup quarterback. Wandell comes in, gets you 9 fantasy points. Outside of that, a whole lot of nothing there. Devin Singletary caught 2 balls. Tyrone Tracy got you 6 fantasy points in receiving right there. Looking at Tampa Bay, Mike Evans is back. Thank goodness. 6 targets, 5 balls caught, 68 yards. Bucky Irving getting it done today. He's taken over this backfield. He's rushed for 87 yards and a touchdown. On top of that, 6 balls caught, 64 yards. He's taken it over. Rachaad White should eventually lose his job, but Rachaad White's still in there because they like to use 2 running backs. That being said, Sean Tucker is a handcuffed running back if you have either one of these running backs. He had a big fumble today around the goal line, but Sean Tucker's going to get that work if something happens to Bucky Irving or Rachaad White. And if I'm into fantasy playoffs and I got that roster spot, which you should, because that last roster spot is not going to win your league unless you have a handcuffed back or a lottery ticket play that just steps in and goes nuclear. That could be Sean Tucker. The Bucks have a good schedule down the stretch. Cade Otton got 3 targets, but mainly after Bucky Irving and Mike Evans, there's nothing there. 7 targets for Sterling Shepard, 5 balls caught, 16 yards. That's the funniest stat line you'll see all day. 6 fantasy points on 7 targets and 5 catches. That's because he's getting targets around the line of scrimmage, and that's the risk with Sterling Shepard. Jalen McMillan getting fraud checked on the back end of the season. Chiefs, Panthers, another fun one here. Bryce Young is coming back. And the thing about these quarterbacks is a lot of people think when a quarterback gets benched and comes back that it's over, they're tainted. But the thing is, if that quarterback's got a strong mindset, it doesn't matter. They're just retooling. They're developing. Every day they're learning. You're kind of seeing that from Bryce Young. He's got a lot of upside. He's got a fast mental processor. You'll see that on the tape. Now, Alabama in training camp, it's just things were running bad. It's not like you got the best cast of characters. You keep them in there and you get T-Mac through the draft or something like that paired with the rest of the assets you got. They're looking good. Jonathan Brooks didn't get a lot of touches. We were pretty much pegging that in. It's a tough matchup anyway with the Chiefs. They're locked down, the running backs. Chuba, though, got it done, though. Got a touchdown, 58 yards, 1 catch for 2 yards. So he doesn't go nuclear, but the Chiefs bent to him, which is a good thing for Chuba managers in fantasy football. David Moore. We said an ancillary player would do something in this matchup, and it did. David Moore, 6 balls caught, 81 yards and a touchdown. Adam Thielen comes back. He's rolling. Xavier Legette's rolling for a little bit. Jatavian Sanders is still getting work, getting opportunity. But do you look at the Chiefs side? Noah Gray goes off. Who's got the balls to pick up Noah Gray and start him in fantasy football? 2 touchdowns, 66 yards. Travis Kelce gets you 12 fantasy points. Xavier Worthy gets you about 9 fantasy points here. You don't want to start him. You don't want to bench him. He's one of those types of players. DeAndre Hopkins comes through with the touchdown. 14.5 fantasy points right there. Kareem Hunt, this might be the last time you see him as the bell cow. 68 rushing yards, 3 balls caught, 19 yards. That might be it as a bell cow because we know who's coming back. Justin Watson, Samaje Perine, Carson Steele, Juju Smith-Schuster getting scraps in the passing game. Mecole Hardman, Samaje Perine, Xavier Worthy, and Carson Steele getting some scraps in the run game. All in all, Bryce Young stepping up, looking good, and making the case to be the starting quarterback. Titans, Texans, and this slate hammered it down. This slate exceeded expectations. We looked at this slate on paper, and this is another game where you would think the Texans would road dog here, slow matchup. No, we get over 50 points scored. Will Levis comes in, tosses 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. CJ Stroud, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 247 yards. The Texans start off slow. Joe Mixon, just 22 rushing yards. Nico Collins is the guy. He'll always be the guy in this offense. He helps CJ Stroud a lot. He is an elite wide receiver. 5 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Tank Dell is better with Nico Collins. With less work, less opportunity. With Nico Collins there, he's still better. It's just better targets going his way. 3 balls caught, 72 yards. Still just 10.2 PPR fantasy points. Enough to make him like a wide receiver 3 for the week. Cade Stover got a little bit and a touchdown. That's okay for it. Joe Mixon makes it up in the receiving game, but not good enough. Just a high-end RB3 for the week. Looking at the Titans side, Calvin Ridley, he's either all or nothing. 6 targets, catching 5 of them for 93 yards. Chikakonkwo still scoring fantasy points. 1 catch, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Boyd racking up catches. Nick Westbrook, another touchdown, catching 6 touchdowns in his last 7 games. That's big-time numbers there. Tony Pollard, 119 yards and a touchdown, getting it done. The quiet hitter is Tony Pollard this season, and everybody loves him in their lineups, but people aren't talking him up enough. Broncos, Raiders. Broncos road dogged the Raiders, but the Raiders had to lead early in this game. Fun one to watch. Bo Nix comes in, 273 yards and 2 touchdowns. He does not throw many interceptions. We saw that in college. We're seeing that right now. He's a very efficient quarterback. And with the run game here, you can't trust any of these running backs. Audric Esme, 3 carries. Jaleel McLaughlin, 7. Javonte Williams, 8 for -2. You just can't trust it. This was a good matchup for the running backs. Sincere McCormick got 5 carries. Ameer Abdullah got 8 carries. So they're splitting up the workload. Dylan Labe was used on special teams. They didn't really use him in the passing game, but Ameer Abdullah caught 5 balls, 37 yards, and a touchdown. He got it done for you in fantasy football. Brock Bowers had a slow game. Jacoby Myers got the targets, 15 of them. 10 catches, 121 yards. So he blasted fantasy production. Trey Tucker, 7 catches, 82 yards. They had to spread the ball around in the passing game. They had to get creative with it. They did, and they did a good job with that. Cortland Sutton did Cortland Sutton things. 2 touchdowns, 8 catches, 97 yards. Going off. Devon Vele is a guy you need to look at off the waiver wire. He's being consistent when it comes to the production and workload. 9 targets in this matchup, 6 balls caught, 80 yards. He's a waiver wire get. He's a big waiver wire get off the waiver wire. He's a guy that's going to be consistent down the stretch for the rest of the season. He's always going to get that work. The fantasy production, the fantasy points that you're going to get, I can't promise that. But I can promise you he's going to get more than 5 targets a game. I can promise you that's going to be the average for here on out. Niners, Packers, and it was nasty on the 49ers side. Brandon Allen, just 199 yards, a touchdown, a pick. Christian McCaffrey, just not Christian McCaffrey with his quarterback at play. This makes sense. George Kittle gets you some fantasy production. Juwan Jennings holds it down, but not good enough for you. Debo busts on you. And then we do not get anything from Ricky Pearsall. The Packers side, not much, as in they did not have to do much anyways. 163 yards passing, 2 touchdowns by Jordan Love, but it was the run game. They were pounding it out like it's prom night. Manny Wilson, 9 carries, 41 yards, 4.6 yards per carry. He is a waiver wire get as a stash, as a handcuff behind Jacobs, or just in case something happens to Jacobs for down the stretch. Josh Jacobs, 26 carries, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns, getting the work. Now we're looking at the passing game. We got the carousel effect with limited volume here, so the ball's spreading around, but not much fantasy points as you would expect. Kraft gets the touchdown. Dubs gets 54 yards. After that, really, it's just scraps. Seahawks beat the Cardinals 16-6. Low-scoring game. Still a fun one to watch down the end. Trey Benson rushes for 18 yards, gets 4 carries in this matchup. However, the Cardinals were playing from behind. Tight matchup as well. And Trey McBride, 133 yards, 12 catches, not many touchdowns. He would be nuclear if he was getting a baseline amount of touchdowns on the season. Michael Wilson, 2 balls got, 54 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. busts on you. He's off and on. He's off and on. He's either going nuclear or enough to piss you off. That's about it with him. James Conner, 5 balls caught, 41 yards, so 9.1 fantasy points just in the receiving game. However, Jackson Smith-Njigba was a buy in the offseason in Dynasty Fantasy Football. 6 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Multiple games of him going off. DK Metcalf gets enough to get it done, but Kenneth Walker's got that burst. You kept seeing him just escaping to the second level. 41 yards, 2.6 yards per carry, but you saw that burst in speed. And on top of that, 4 balls caught, 52 yards. Coming out of college, people told me he couldn't catch passes. They're using him a lot in the passing game. After that, it's just scraps everywhere else. Zach Charbonnet, 22 rushing yards. Seattle does take it home, though. Those are the buy, sell, holds, and trades from Week 12 Fantasy Football. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.